Well, we are here. We are joined. I'm Greg Fernandez Jr. Catherine is with us. Sophia is with us. And Mr. Will Rail, who is also going to be simulcasting here, is also with us today. And who knows what we're going to talk about, but who knows what we're going to talk about with any of these live shows that we do here, right? But there is a purpose that we're all here. Catherine, I was hoping maybe you could kind of fill the people in of what we're doing here while I change the name of this video.
Yes, and hello everyone. We've decided that we would go ahead and open up a line of communication, a dialogue, for lack of a better term, with anyone. Mainly there's a group of people on Facebook who believe David to be guilty of this murder-suicide narrative. We, on our side, are of the belief that David was a victim of murder, as well as his wife and daughter. So throughout the years, there's been a bit of contention between the two groups. So, I'm like, someone had posted to me a post from one of their groups, which I showed you on one of my videos, where they're always like, hey, we'll debate you anytime, any place. This has just been going on forever. So it's like, well, okay, instead of us constantly having this bone of contention, let's open the lines of communication and let's have this discussion in a public forum. And so we set it up weeks in advance. When we came up with this idea, it was at least 2 weeks ago. And so we set up a time and a date. And so now we're just hoping that someone from their group, anyone, it doesn't matter who it is, could be one of their main admins or even someone from the group or even someone who could be listening live. If you feel David is guilty, please jump in and feel free to give your stance on why you feel the way you do. And that's the spiel.
All right, and I got it up. If anybody here wants to call in, feel free to call in, 609-663-0637. Come on in and join us. We're going to be here for at least another hour, maybe 2 hours or so, and then we'll go back to the previously normal scheduled programming here. But I think this is a good idea. Take a little time out and extend that olive branch and give these people a forum. If they really want to show up here and try to prove David Crowley guilty, great. Even if they don't show up, it'd be nice if they could actually prove David Crowley guilty or help people understand why they believe David Crowley is guilty. Is it based on facts or is it based on fiction? From what I can gather, it looks like fiction to me, because obviously if the police can't prove it, it's going to be hard for me to think that anybody else can. And if they can, then they should hand that stuff over to the cops so that they can conclusively prove this case and close it, instead of having this case ruled exceptionally clear. And there is a big, big difference. So we're talking about 3 people that have died. Go ahead.
Right, and it's funny you put it the way you did, because that's exactly what Joe Pierce from their side is constantly saying. Well, if Catherine's, okay, here comes my snort inside, and I can't be that way. Okay, I said I would be peaceful, so I will try to be peaceful. But he's always saying, well, if Catherine's corner friend has all this information, then they should send it in, and if he's innocent, then they'll prove it, on and on and on and on. And it's like I have said this till I'm blue in the face, so I absolutely refuse to even acknowledge him anymore when he says this, because I'm not sure what part of it has been submitted is not understood. The information that we gleaned, and my friend and I gleaned together, has been submitted. And the fact that the DA, that the governor, that Dakota County Sheriff, that the Apple Valley Police Department, that the City Council, that everyone, the fact that they are all ignoring this doesn't mean it hasn't been submitted, and doesn't mean that the evidence we submitted isn't valid. It just means they don't care. There's not enough push from the public to bring attention to this, because I guarantee if this was a different situation of what's happening in Minnesota right now and today, that this would have been reopened months ago. But we don't have that kind of backing behind us. So what we submit is the truth, and we got it straight from the evidence that the police provided to us.
Seems fairly simple. I mean, if we didn't have so many people, including these Gray State goons, telling everybody that David was guilty, maybe we would also have a little more help. Maybe there would be more people that would be willing to come forward if they know anything that may lead to what really happened here. But for anyone to say that what really happened here is that David Crowley is guilty is just crazy. You're fooling yourself. You're trying to fool other people, and I can guarantee you, except for the very, very weak-minded, it's not going to work. You can keep trying.
Right.
That's your freedom. You know, if you want to keep playing that route, fine, because all that it's doing is bringing more people to our group.
Yep.
So where Eric Nelson left off, we now have these people who have picked up that baton and they're running with it. So, I mean, I wish that they would. I wish that, you know, they would either be able to admit that they're full of crap and to say, we think David Crowley is guilty, but they don't know David Crowley is guilty. The smartest thing that they could ever do is to not show up here, because they would not be able to prove David Crowley guilty. And if you can't do that, you're just going to make yourself look foolish.
Yeah, and you know, jumping back to even any of the anyone who's reported on this case, from the Twin Cities, from Minneapolis' newspaper, to Tom Lydon, to Eric Nelson, to what's his name, Warren. I don't know all these producers' names, but the people who did the sloppumentary, and you know, others. I find that these are the types of personalities that if they make a mistake, they don't want to jump back and say, oops, maybe I was wrong here. Here's some other evidence. Instead, they dig their heels in, and they're like, well, no, that's what we were told. That's what was said at the time. We're not going to go back, and we don't have time to look into it again because, well, it's over and done with. Well, that's not really right, because they slandered the name of a man who was a victim of a murder, and they need to correct that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when it comes to, like, the documentary, I understand why they're not going to, like, necessarily make another documentary. They could, easily could. I mean, if they came out and they're like, look, okay, well, you know, we can admit our wrongs, you know, but, I mean, they're not going to do that anyways. But they could. As for, like, Tom Lydon and all those guys, they absolutely should. They should be retracting their statements, things like this. But like I said, I mean, Eric Nelson's the only one I'm like, okay, well, he's the one who probably won't do anything. I don't really see him having to do it because, you know, with movies, what's done is done, generally. Right. So, but they set themselves up for a sequel. That's how I see it. I'm like, that's more money for you. Come on now.
Exactly. You know, and other documentaries, you know, especially since they decided to release it on Netflix. Netflix has, you know, several documentaries where they had one stance on an outcome, but then when something else came to light, they switched it and they redid it or added to or added another season. Well, they could, like you said, they could do the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only reason why they're not doing it is because it was all propaganda.
Exactly.
And there's no reason for them to switch it up now because it served its purpose.
Yeah, exactly. But and the thing that I don't get, because I have spoken with a few of, I should say a couple, so two reporters from two separate newspapers that reported on this crime. And one has been pretty vague in any response whatsoever, but they just don't have time because it just isn't in the mainstream media anymore. But the other person seemed a little more open to go, oh, okay, well, didn't know about this. But then again, that's as far as it went. So, and that's where my frustration comes in with the media. It's like, okay, you guys now you've seen it, and you're like going, oh, oops. Well, then fix it, retract it, or say, maybe even could this have been something else? They could do a different story, but again, it's not headline news right now. It's not this big, ex-military guy went crazy, killed his family, killed himself routine anymore. And so, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm frustrated at the moment.
No, it's
well, it starts with Tom Linden. Is it Linden?
Leiden.
How do you pronounce his name? Leiden. It starts with him because other reporters or journalists took their lead from his stories. And so, you'll see that there was David's bloody footprints throughout the crime scene. There weren't.
Yeah.
But they take their lead. They don't even bother to look at the evidence. They just watched his little thing and then wrote what he said. So it really starts with him.
Yeah.
And you got to take, I don't even know how we even go about correcting all the misinformation that was in his report.
Well, yeah, because, I'm wondering, I've been trying to do research on Leiden lately, the last week or so. I've come across several interesting things about him, not only as a person, but his history as a journalist. But I can't find out or figure out where did he get his information to do his hit piece. Because, it seems like a narrative was handed to him, and then he wrote it, and spoke about it, and then ran with it. He didn't, by how he speaks and what I have seen him write, he didn't even look at the evidence. So where is he getting his information? Or where did he get his information?
I always assumed that he got it from the Apple Valley PD.
No, I don't think he did either.
Well, he definitely got the documents and got all of that stuff. Now, apparently, he got a lot more than what he was supposed to get. That's what one of the Gray State Goons had told me. After we found out that Tom Leiden had gotten a lot of documents and photos, that's when we started putting in requests for documents and photos. The reason why we didn't do it when the case was still, they were still investigating it. The case hadn't closed yet, so Detective Gummert, made it clear, they're not going to do anything more. They're not going to answer any questions. They're not going to give us anything until their investigation is done. And of course, they're not going to tell us that either. So we kind of found out through Tom Leiden, and Tom Leiden had all of this stuff here, and then that's when we started putting in requests to try to get as much documents, as much data as we possibly could. And so by that time, Tom Leiden had to have known that there was something up. So to call him an investigative reporter, I don't know. I mean, he's reporting what? I mean, not reporting the truth, definitely not reporting facts, and he hasn't retracted any of those statements that he's put out here.
Well, because if he had access to all those documents, it just tells me he didn't even read them. Mm-hmm. I mean, the moment you start to even read and then look at one of those photos, look at the evidence, look at the BCA reports, you realize that it's not the narrative. You see right away that David was a victim of murder. So did he just, for poops and giggles, say, okay, I got these reports, but what do you want me to say? And, I don't know. Like you said, that's not investigation. That's regurgitation.
Yeah, well, he was working with Eric Nelson up until a certain point. It seemed like they were working hand in hand, and then Tom Leiden played his card first with that 15-minute hit piece on David Crowley, and then Eric Nelson followed up with a 93-minute hit piece.
Well, I kind of feel like when it comes to Leiden stuff, if he would have read any of it, honestly, he didn't need to have the picture of the bodies. He could just basically see, just even from I believe even the kitchen photos would have been enough to kind of show it. The angle from going in. You guys get it. So I think that if he would have, at least looked at, like Catherine said, at least 1 or 2 photos, read the police reports, once again, they even show it in the police reports that, okay, there was, just to kind of go with kind of what we got here in order here, there should have been 4 bullets shot. But we've all of a sudden, we got, I think it's like 6 fragments, 6 casings, I believe is what it was, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But then there was also an unspent round as well. It doesn't add up. As even if we just look at the 6 fragments, why are there 6 fragments? That doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
So, I mean, that should already make him question things. On top of that, you got the body decomps, you got bullet trajectories, you got blood spatter, the lack thereof of blood, the body decomp times. You can compare David's hand to the smear marks and all this. I mean, you can do all sorts of things like this, and it doesn't add up. Not to mention, I mean, what's the typical motive we've got going on? I mean, I know I'm just kind of covering everything right now, but, if you look at what is the driving motive that I believe the police were trying to say, and they were trying to say, what was it, financial? It was one of the motives, potentially, and then, of course, you get the pact theory that another group, posted, and then you got of course, the police narrative, which is like, oh, well, he just did this, he just got snapped, he just did it. And I mean, even then, it kind of like the way it sounded to me, it sounded even like the police chief, was it Reitzigal or whatever? It even sounded like he was like, oh yeah, well, it was all over finances. But anybody looking at the financial records will see that finances, that doesn't make any sense because they were pretty well off.
Yeah, so, and that's the funny thing when you bring up the finances, like, because that is what the chief was saying. And not only did they have money in their accounts, but there's a $14,000 check sitting on their porch.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, David also had access to that payable on death account, which, I mean, all of them had access to. They could all pull money from it. I mean, you can see just by looking over those financial records, you can see there were several different times. You had a $50,000 was pulled out and thrown back in, which I believe was for some kind of an investment, or it was like some kind of a collateral. Hey, I've got this money here. This is what I can fall back on, kind of thing. I think that's what it was meant for. But I mean, you see this happen multiple times throughout those records. So I think any person with 2 brain cells can see that. Okay, well, it's not a financial thing. She obviously, like Kamel wasn't really worried about it. She knew that was going on. She had to have. I mean, there's no way. I mean, David was very, from what we can see at least. So obviously, we don't personally know him, but, it sounded really like Kamel and David were just like a unit. Like David just doing something, Kamel was on board with it. If there's any kind of issues, once again, it was like they would work things out. So if it wasn't really working out, then maybe David might stop, or maybe it wasn't kind of working out for Kamel on something, and then she would stop or whatever she was doing, whatever. They worked as a team, and they were, even Reitzigal seen the same thing, that they were like a happy family. This doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And it is true that they did work as a unit. Let me jump in real fast.
Sure.
Because in David's social media post, he says he promotes Kamel's blog that she has. And, a great article has just been written by such and such. Please read. So he's promoting her passion, just like she promotes his. Yeah. So this is not an abusive relationship.
Nope.
No, that's something to be taken seriously. Was this, and that's definitely a valid question, but there are real people that are in those situations, and we don't just want to kind of water it down and just throw that at David just because we don't know what happened. So we're just going to throw everything against the bloody wall and see what sticks to it. And that's exactly what was going on, and probably in some cases is still going on. But I think a lot of people, at least at this point, realize, okay, I've listened to the bullshit. It's not true. You guys are making things up. Now I want to find out what the facts are. Now I want to find out what the truth is. We have the documents. Everyone who's listening, watching this, has access to those documents. You can research this all for yourself. You have to come to your own conclusion at some point. Don't be lazy, and don't just say, well, he's innocent or he's guilty based on nothing. Do your research. Know what you're talking about.
I know I'm going to kind of sound like a little lame here for saying this, but checking that other group, honestly, the Crowley Fact or Fiction group, honestly, use that as a counter argument just so you can see how does their argument stack up. And even if you don't join it, read it. You can see very, very clearly their arguments do not really add up. I wish they could be here to defend that. I really do.
What is their argument? What is their argument?
It seems like there's like 2 or 3 different arguments with them, honestly. You got
so they can't even agree on the argument.
Exactly. I mean, I noticed there was somebody that just recently popped into their group that literally came on and was like, look, I don't think he was guilty at all. And they basically pounced on him. And they're like, oh, wait, I mean, they didn't do it in a rude way, which I was like very shocked by. Especially with how abusive they are towards everybody else. But, you know, they did jump on and they're like, look, okay, so why do you think this? And so he basically was like, look, I don't see this as possible. I just got a feeling right now. And then they already start loading him up with things. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I already sent out a message and was like, look, man, you are on the right track, but what you're doing here, man, let me explain.
Like
I didn't send them towards any group. Like, basically, like, they're, I will read off a few. I found it fascinating just how quickly they were all jumping on him. So if this is all just through his welcome message. He's like, or they're like, welcome to the group, such and such. He's like, you know, thanks. You know, there's no way David's a murderer. It's obvious as AF, you know, that he was silenced. And so of course, you know, she who will not be named. What makes it obvious? Yes. You know, and so he's like, I meant it as my opinion, just a hunch. And she's like, oh, I like hearing others' opinions. No, you don't. That's a lie.
Yeah.
And then so we get Mr. Pierce pops in. Do you believe he was murdered for the movie he was making to stop it from being made? And of course, this guy's like, absolutely. And so, of course, they chime in and they say, well, why would they leave all the computers, hard drives, and flash drives that contain all the material needed to complete the movie? Surely they knew an heir would receive this material and could possibly complete the project. That's what they came to stop by your assertion. And, of course, you know, I mean, that is
that's the documentary. That's the documentary, though. That's not the movie that was never made.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the thing is when it comes down to it, I mean, does he have a point to some degree? He has a small point.
He's lying. He's basically lying. He's trying to confuse this guy.
Exactly.
So what they should be doing, and I'll give them a little tip, what you should be doing is showing this guy the evidence of why you believe David Crowley is guilty. Instead of just picking apart at little things, waiting for him to come up with something, why don't you help him understand why David Crowley is guilty? Give him the facts that will show him, lead him to the documents that will show him where it shows David Crowley is guilty. And if you trust your theory, that's all you should have to really do.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, I will agree with them to some degree that this, I mean, was it a very strong argument? No. The thing is, I mean, this is, if you're looking at a government hit, yeah, leaving that stuff, what is that going to do? Well, it doesn't necessarily prove anything. That's the problem. Obviously, they didn't, you know, none of this other group didn't read the 2015 script. That's what the Gray State Goons say. That's what they really, that's
Can they
exactly
read?
what, yeah, that's my other thing.
Sorry?
I don't think they ever did. I don't think they can. But the thing is, they obviously didn't read it. And once again, if the Gray State Goons were basically like, that's what their assumption was, which we can see based on the crime scene. I mean, everything they were kind of leading towards, it was all based on the 2013 script rather than 2014. So, yeah. I mean, if you come down to it, leaving the 2013 stuff there, they're trying to use that to make David look crazy. So leaving it there, actually this guy's argument here, that's the thing, Mr. Pierce is not leaving a very strong argument in that case. He leaves the argument, okay, well, why would anybody leave this? It doesn't make any sense. Well, the thing is, if it was a government hit, and this is actually, like, that was a legit thing, they're trying to make him seem crazy. No, this makes sense to leave it there. However, and that's the thing, they didn't look at the whole fact that, well, he left the 2014 script. The 2013 script we just got. So even with all of his notes, it doesn't necessarily mean he went crazy. It's just he was looking at things. I mean,
well, they were also trying to tell people that, you know, that David didn't have a working deal.
Yeah.
So they started out with a big, big lie there, and from that point on, why would anybody take them seriously?
Exactly.
Well, the thing is some people don't even bother to look further than what they're being told.
Yep.
And so they actually believe that there is no deal.
Yeah, and it surprises me that more people have not watched Dan's video where he spoke with Mike, what's his name, Bellagio, one of the guys from Hollywood, the producer, and he flat out says, in his own words, David had the deal with us. We were going to do this. And it's coming directly from the producer in Hollywood. And if he's saying they had a deal, who are they to say he didn't have a deal?
He wasn't. Correct.
Right. Why
Well,
would they say that?
Okay, I can tell you exactly why. They're using the whole post that Dan Crowley said that David walked away because of the something of the heart or something.
Mm-hmm.
What was that exact phrase?
Yeah.
That's what they're using.
Yeah. Okay.
Something about reasons of the heart or something weird like that.
I walked away from it. Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't even know. There's no proof David even sent that.
Correct.
Well, exactly. Well, and the thing is, you look at the document. What's really interesting is that's just a standard. That's a standard text document he's got on there. It's just like a notepad, almost like, or a word pad. The thing is, it's not titled Myth. Like, that is not the name of the program. Okay. I don't remember what it's called, but it's not Myth. Myth was something it was titled as. So to have it on there and to go about it with the title of Myth, it was already named. My opinion is they totally deleted everything on there. Whoever did. They might have had that right there. It was something that was up already, and they just basically deleted it all just because, I can put the suicide note right here. I don't think it was well thought out. Whoever did this did not think it out very well. And basically, I think it was probably one of David's notes on some of the project he was working, or it could have even been working on the Gray State project as like his previous notes he had. I don't think there's any way to necessarily be certain of that, but I mean, without like digging at his computer and stuff. But I mean, obviously, they had a Dakota electronics unit look at it, and I mean, I don't recall seeing anything about that at all. Like when this document was initially created and all this. That's all they would have to see. But this is created years ago or a year ago, prior to his death, and I mean,
I think they said that it wasn't saved. It wasn't a saved document. So it kind of makes it seem like as if he was just, it was just typed out and just kind of sitting there waiting for somebody.
Well, that's the weird part, because usually if you were to go into any kind of WordPad, I don't know how Apple works with this necessarily. I am not an Apple fan by any means. I am all PC every time. But, Windows, I mean, even though I don't really like Gates, but that's okay. Screw Gates. Basically, the whole thing with it is, when you're going to go get a title to a document, you have to save it, right? So if that's the case,
that's true.
I mean, if anybody's got an Apple product, please, show me if I'm wrong, But I mean, last I checked, it's like getting a title on a document, you have to save it. So therefore, the electronics unit didn't know that. I mean, they were newly established, but obviously they should be hiring people who know what they're talking about when it comes to electronics. I don't think they did. I think they just hired some people that basically, hey, look at this. This guy, he works for us at the police department. We're gonna pull him in here. He looks like he's younger. He knows computers. Let's go with that. That's probably what happened, in all honesty. He's on the Facebooks. Let's do this. Instagrams, yeah. He knows what he's done. No, obviously not. To get a title on something like that, I believe you have to save it when it comes, even with Mac. I know with PC, every single time to title it, you have to. So I think that's just
Yeah, I do want to go back to just one thing about David's dad.
Sure.
This would be on page 171 of my book, 187 of the PDF. So on November 7th, let's see, where is it? On November 7th, David asked him, how are the negotiations with the producers? David tells him, I walked away from it, reasons of the spirit, I guess. Now, this is from a text message. So, again, okay. November 7th, 2014, there should be a text message from Dan Sr. To David. There should be some back and forth between them on November 7th. Just want to throw that out there.
David's phone number was 4890?
David had, let's see what his newest one, the new phone number, 4890, yeah. Now,
No text
again,
messages on 11th.
what about the old one?
No, it doesn't go that high.
There
The
are
old
no
one doesn't go to November.
On
It goes,
November 7th. There are no texts from David's phone.
yeah, there's 1104 and then 1108.
And then the ones on the 8th are from David, between David and Zach Carter. There's one Dan Jr., but then that's it. So where's his dad getting this?
I don't know. Strange. It's pretty strange.
And I did want to add, like what William was saying, that a lot of the things around the computer was pointing towards the 2013 script. Like, he could have been working a while ago on the myth, but for some reason it seemed to be staged right there at that time. But the notebook, that is an interesting piece of evidence because the notebook contains information for the 2013 script, although he was completely done with it as far as we know and had shown the Mike the 2014 script and had done some revisions and everything. The 2013 script, all his little notes and little jots, everything that he was writing was towards the 2013. That's in that notebook right there, Greg, that you're showing.
And that kind of shows that, yeah, I mean, where's his notes for the 2014 script then? Where's all of that? Where's all that good stuff? Is this just an old notebook? It's kind of what I always thought. Even a lot of the stuff on here, just, yeah, anyways. Again, that number, if anybody does want to call in 609-663-0637. This is your opportunity to explain why David Crowley is guilty. Why you believe David Crowley is guilty. What is it based on? How invested are you in this? How much research have you actually done to come to that theory? And for how long? Are you working your way back? Did you start with the fact that David Crowley was guilty? Did you start with the fact that he was innocent? Where did you start and where are you at now after looking at all of these documents that you have access to? So you have no excuse. So we all have access to these documents if we want to do our own research and look into it. So for me, I don't understand, unless it's a lack of knowledge, wisdom, effort, fluoride, chlorine, unless it's something like that, I don't understand why you would believe David Crowley is guilty.
Well, you know, and I've said this before, and maybe this might help someone who's come in and just hearing this. When I first heard about this case, I remember my exact thought was, I'm going to read the autopsy report and explain it to the group because maybe they don't understand how medical terminology works, because most people don't.
I still don't. Yep.
Yeah, it's a whole different field. So I said, okay, let me do this, and then maybe they can understand why this guy killed his family and then himself. Okay, so that's the first thing I go to, are the autopsies. I breeze through Camille's and Rania's real quick, and then I open David's, and I'm like, okay, so let me read this, and then I'll explain it, right? In my ego, I'm like, I'll explain it to them and tell them why they're wrong. And as soon as I started reading that, I'm like going, my thought was, in part in my French, was, oh, holy shit, this guy was murdered.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, because I entered this believing he was guilty, but the moment I started reading, I knew he wasn't. And then from that point on, it's just been a domino effect, one on top of the other, where evidence after evidence is showing and backs up the previous evidence that he was a victim of murder.
Yep. Yep.
I want to say hey to Johanna in our live chat room here on the
Hello.
Great Stage YouTube channel. Appreciate that. We are actually live here. I know you've tuned into a lot of the replays for the last 6 or 7 months, but here you are. You made it to a live show. Awesome.
So, I mean, I think for basically the strongest argument we could possibly do, just to kind of show people, honestly, I think if we just went down the list, just kind of, I think if all of us kind of just went down and just kind of, this is why this doesn't work for the narrative, this is why this doesn't work for the tactic. We can always just argue all the different points just to show that it doesn't add up. And then it shows that, okay, well, if we've got all these narratives that are supposedly there, why don't they add up? And I think most of them, we can just follow this exact, just going just down the list right here, bullet count, bullet trajectories, spatter, decomp, the smears, and then, of course, motive. You can see that it's very, very clear it's not possible. It is absolutely murder. Just like how Catherine said, if you look at the autopsy reports, you'll see it doesn't add up.
Let's talk about this one, and let's talk about these bullets, because we don't just have bullets. We have bullet fragments, too.
Mm-hmm.
We have people, when the police leave that crime scene, and they're satisfied. They're 100% satisfied that David Crowley is guilty, and they're going to work their way back through that.
Yep.
They're missing 2 very crucial bullets, rounds, spent rounds. So we have several spent rounds, and then we have this item 31, which is a bullet fragment. Item 31 has got to be a fragment of one of those spent rounds, or it's a fragment of a spent round that is still missing. Mm-hmm. It's one or the other. So, yes, I definitely think the bullet count, kind of like when you're missing votes and all of a sudden you're able to find them. I think we have something similar going on here. That's just my view on that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but even if we do consider that, we also got to remember too, just to give some background on this too. The gun that was used, it's the Springfield Armory. I don't remember the exact one, but there's plenty of videos where you can actually just look it up and you can actually see it always launches the casing to the right. So if you look at where the bodies are, or rather where they were, you'll see that even if paleo, let's just say hypothetically, paleo was moving around, it still doesn't add up with all of them. You'd figure some of these would be, okay, well this makes sense here, this makes sense here, but they don't really necessarily make sense for the narrative at all. It actually looks like something else entirely. So if we got bullet fragments and bullet casings that are kind of like really close to each other, that's already odd, for one. For two, if you look at where the bullet casings are, even on that carpet, I mean, if paleo was really there eating on the bodies, right, you'd find bloody paw prints. You'd see that they'd be kicked around, they'd have some blood on them most likely, so you'd probably be stepping on them. Is another thing. So we don't see that either. So that's why I'm also having kind of an issue here. So if we got the bullet counts, we got, as I believe, like I was saying earlier, I believe it's 6 fragments, 6 casings. I believe there's 1 unspent round entirely. So
7. So you have 7. Yeah, you have 7 bullets because you have to include item 45, which is the one in the basement. So okay. 7 cartridges, 7 cartridge cases.
No, there's 6 cases.
No, there's 7.
There's 6 cases.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh yeah, that's 6.
Yeah, I thought it was 6 casings, 6 fragments, and 1 unspent round entirely.
5, 6. Wait a minute.
6 casings, 1 unspent. Then the bullet fragment 31. 1, 2. Oh shoot.
Yeah, that doesn't really add up.
That's what I'm saying. When it comes, and see,
no, you have 6 hollow points. I'm trying to, because there's different words for them. And then you got that little teeny piece, number 31. And then the live round, number 7. So number 2 is a cartridge case. It's by the edge of the carpet and the recliner in the living room. Number 3 is a cartridge case by the stool in the living room. Number 7 is a live round on the rug, hair clump, torn crown pages. Number 9, cartridge case on the rug by the Quran. Number 30, cartridge case, torn Quran, by the torn Quran by the couch on the rug. Number 31, wait. Number 30 is under the bookcase. I'm sorry.
Can I interject something real quick here? Joanna's saying that the sound is buffering on YouTube.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Because she wants to hear what Sophia's saying.
Okay, let us know if it's still buffering, and we'll have Sophia repeat that. Sounds okay here where I'm at. Maybe it is buffering a little.
Okay, I just told her to let us know if it continues.
Yeah, she's right. Stream bitrate lower.
Well, I mean, just to kind of add on that just a little bit, I feel like when looking at the bullet counts, we kind of have to look at the autopsy as well, because it does say 2 bullets used, or 2 bullets used for Kamel, 1 for Rania, and 1 for David. Okay. Now, a few things to note here. They've got the exit on some of them, and I believe they have an entrance. I believe it's on Kamel. They have an entrance, don't they?
No, they only have the entrance wound on Rania.
Okay. So my point here is, I mean, they've only got limited data even on that, which is already peculiar, in my opinion. But we've also got if you look at where the bodies are, along with that too, where they're gonna fall, things like this. I mean, it doesn't seem to add up. But I mean, you still, regardless, you got 4 bullets used, but why is there 6? And an unspent round. Why? Well,
there's 3 bullets that have Kamel's DNA only on it. There's 42, 43, and 44. That were all found on the rug that day.
And that could screw up the autopsy report right there, right after that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was never updated or anything.
Yeah, you'd figure that would have been updated pretty promptly, but apparently not.
Oh, wait, you know what? I need to go back and say you were correct, William. She had entrance wounds that they found. Kamel did have entrance wounds.
And they just couldn't find the exits, correct?
Correct. You're correct.
Yeah. It's could have sworn
How could they find entrance? Sorry. How could they find entrance wounds if she doesn't even have a head?
They would have found little skull fragments, is what they would have had to have found, with some beveling on them. I mean, that's the only way that would have been possible. So, but once again, I mean, I was in the impression Paleo ate all that, so. But okay. Has anybody from the other group?
There are bone fragments and things found around the bodies that the coroner did collect and had put into a brown paper bag. So we know that the bones were there. They just they didn't account for everything.
Exactly. So I mean, really, end of the day, I mean, that's all they would have had to find is just a little beveling, and then they could have, if they could have just determined, okay, is this the interior, the exterior of the skull, then they could basically just go from there. But regardless, I mean, they'd also have to go and pinpoint the location of what piece that part of the bone fragment was actually going part of. So, which I mean, I know there's ways to do that. Is you can look at the thickness and all this. I believe. So I don't think the skull is the same thickness all the way around. You could probably definitely expand on that, Catherine. I'm definitely no expert.
I mean, yeah, you're correct. The skull is pretty consistent. There are some facial bones that might be thinner, but where it seems like what the ME was doing is, kind of piecing it together. They would get a piece and see, okay, does this articulate with this skull fragment that we have left on this body? If not, will it articulate with this over here? And so that's kind of how they did. And from reading the reports, that when whoever was collecting the fragments, they collected the fragments that were located closest to that body. put them in a bag, sent it with that body, and then according to the autopsy reports, those fragments then did articulate with the skull, the leftover skull that was remaining on that body. So it's nothing that I found in any of the reports stated, like, say, there was a skull piece located by the door that matched Kamel or by Kamel's leg and it matched David. Nothing like that. I mean, what they found by David matched David's skull. What they found by Kamel matched Kamel's skull.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they just did a lot of guess and check on, like, is basically what you're saying, right? They just did a lot of guess and check.
I'm sorry.
Okay, guys, we're gonna. There's definitely a streaming issue.
Okay.
I'm gonna restart the stream here, and we're gonna see if we still have. That was really weird. Yeah, it was working okay for a while, and then we're gonna start a new stream.
Catherine,
Yeah,
will
I
you
still
let
got mine,
the
so we
people
can
in
still
the
talk
chat
if we need
know?
to.
I don't see anyone in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
I'm chatting with Joanna on YouTube.
That's what I meant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I just told her that Greg was going to restart the stream.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had to leave the chat because I was looking at the graph that I have for the cartridges and bullet casings and stuff. So.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries.
New stream should be up now.
Do we have anybody else in our conference call that is from the other group potentially?
Nope,
or?
nope, we're still waiting. We'll give out that number again here too. So let me just start this.
I mean, you're welcome to even do it now, as I'm still streaming. So.
Okay. All right, good. So, if anybody does want to call in, go ahead and call in 609-663-0637. We have now started the second stream here, and of course we'll come back and kind of piece both of these streams here together. You can also catch this on Twitch right now. If you go to twitch.tv/Strange Investigations. So it's live there, no issues there. It's just us.
Yeah.
Here we are. So we're going to be here for, let's see, we've gone about 1 hour, so we'll definitely be here for probably at least another 30, 40, 50 minutes, depending on how much we can cover here, and depending on if anyone wants to jump in and join us. But
well, what's great too is, like, I mean, the way the flow goes with this, I mean, we can easily see how everything is connected really quick, because with the autopsy report, yeah, we got the bullet counts, but we also had bullet trajectory through the skull, which they're like, oh, we don't even know what that is. Which I thought was also kind of fascinating. It's like they don't even know what the bullet trajectory is.
Well, that's because they don't have entrance and exit wounds on David and Kamel. They have that on for Rania. But the reason why they say they don't know the trajectory and they can't determine, because they don't know if it bounced around and did it exit somewhere else. They just don't know. There's not enough of the skull left wherever it would have come out.
Yeah.
yeah, looks like it's still kind of buffering, but we're just going to keep moving on, make the best. Apologize for everybody on the live stream, but I promise on the replay we'll make sure that we fix all of that for any buffering issues here. So jump over to Twitch, and you won't have any buffering issues or anything there. Go to twitch.tv/Strange Investigations, and of course, I know, Will, man, you've done, what are you up to, 25 videos on this case now?
Yeah, if we include this, it's like 25, 26, something like that.
Man.
All at about 2 hour length.
you're gonna catch up to us pretty quickly at that pace.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah. Plus on top of that, we have that the video I'm making, which now that I have my graphics monitor, thank God,
Yeah.
I can start picking up the pace. It's fantastic, because I don't have to rely on the mouse. Yeah. Fantastic. I still can't get over how happy I am on that.
Let's see if I can pull up some of these other ones. So these are kind of the main points here, which really we've been trying to focus on, trying to stay focused here on all the different things that would either prove David innocent or guilty, right? Is that kind of your view on this, Will?
Oh, absolutely. But I do want to go and point one thing out. I know we don't have it on this list at all, but I would highly suggest people also check out similar cases, to this. You got there's the John Lang case. Highly suggested. That's the guy that was stabbed multiple times over in Fresno in 2016, and then his house is also started on fire. Yeah, it's a really complex case, but end of the day,
I remember this.
Yeah, not many people really believe, the narrative there either. But you also got that, and you got the Pencock case. The reason to pay attention to that one is because you have a lot of the same officers that were on this case. They're on that case as well, and that was also after David as well, I believe. So, So I mean, that's checking out these other cases that are they have their similarities. Like for instance, that's got the same officers. You can see how they investigate. Minus a few different people, Captain Bermel. That I mean, if you got those things, you got the similarities there, and then you've got on the other case, you've got some strange occurrences. This guy was like John Lang was looking into police corruption over in Fresno, and all of a sudden these things happen. He's got it on film, and people are watching him, things like this, and you can see it all. It's truly bizarre, and it's actually kind of frightening to think about. But this is directly everything David was talking about, to some degree at least. So I mean, would it be outside of the possibility to see this as like some other kind of thing? I'd say no. It's not. I wouldn't say it's outside the realm of possibility. But just to kind of segue back in, those are some things I would highly suggest taking a look at as well when looking at this case. So potentially Bill Cooper, just throwing that out there. William Cooper. Why not? But yeah.
There's definitely a lot of strange cases, a lot of strange things going on. No doubt about that. Again, if anyone wants to call in, 609-663-0637. This is your opportunity to help us understand why David Crowley is guilty.
Or if you agree that he's innocent.
Or if you agree he's innocent. Sure, why not? Why not? Yeah, anybody, please feel free to call in. It'll take you right in here, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear from whoever you are. This is the time. This is the place, and why not? What better way to do this than in a live forum?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I didn't have any real big hopes that any people who thought David Crowley was guilty would really show up here, and I still don't. But again, it's not really about us. It's not about this. It is about what proves David Crowley innocent and what proves him guilty. It is as simple as that. What do you think and why? What do you base it on? Do you discount all of these things? Not only all these things that are up here on this list here, there's a number of points. I did a short 2-minute video pretty much just asking all of these questions. Why? Where is all this stuff? What can be proven? The authorities can't prove this. They can't prove that. They can't prove nothing. They can't prove anything. Over and over and over again. Those things, usually people don't like to counter those things for some reason. If you look at the back of my book, just look at the back of my book and just counter those. If David Crowley is guilty, there should be a counter for every single point that is made here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points, basically. And there isn't, because no one can prove David Crowley guilty. So we need to stop acting like he is.
Yeah, well, I mean, last I checked, aren't we supposed to be innocent until proven guilty?
Yeah.
Funny how that's been working, its way into society lately. So.
Well, with this case, they found that he was guilty and leaked it out to the papers with, how long was it? Was it Catherine?
Yeah, the chief was very proud, and he stated that they knew within 2 hours, and this is a direct quote from a newspaper article, they knew within 2 hours that this was murder-suicide.
So then they basically just fit the evidence that came in around that guilty.
Yep. They didn't keep an open mind.
Exactly. They didn't bother to look into the evidence that was coming in. They didn't do anything. And so now here we have, we're finding contradictions to what was said. You just look at the phone records and light it up to what people were saying that they either text or called or whatever. Things they don't add up. There weren't burner phones in the house because the police had the search warrants. They could have picked up any other device that was there, but nothing else was taken into custody. So where are these mysterious burner phones that they were supposedly calling other people on and stuff? I mean, you can't have them saying, oh, David and Kamel withdrew from us, and then say, oh, but we were talking with them.
Right.
So you can't have it both
that the
ways.
dog ate those phones too?
Hey,
Yes, it's very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't prove it,
Halo did.
prove that he didn't.
And we're being sarcastic right now for
Yes.
those who have no humor whatsoever.
I mean, you really have only a couple choices with this case. You know, you got to have a little humor. My dad was a firefighter for many years, and he taught me that. He would tell us stories, and you know, after something weird would happen, they would always have to go to a counselor or something like that. And you know, this is life. This is real life here. We do take it seriously, but at the same time, we don't have to obsess. We don't have to worry. We don't have to be scared. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I feel free in just talking about this case. I think this would be a slam dunk case to get reopened. I do believe one day it will get into the right hands. If I had the power to reopen it myself, or to do more, because I can only do so much here. But I know that there are people out there that can do more, that can help, that can contribute. And I know that there are a lot of people watching this and listening to this that have been. And I do want to thank all of you for that. You know, even the people who disagree with us, you know, in some way you're actually furthering what we are doing. So I do want to thank you too.
Yeah. Fair point. I mean, it gives us something to kind of, you know, basically we have our, if you will, counter arguments there. So I feel like it kind of strengthens a lot of our evidence and our findings. Pretty fast typing.
I know, right? It's pretty good.
Oh no, I have long fingernails. I used to. Well, see, I'm one of those old school people. I don't know if any of you other guys. I don't think you guys are as old as I am. I think I'm the oldest one here. But back in the day, I mean, when we had to take typing classes, I learned on those ones where you had to peck the keys, right? And they would make sure that you had to type at least 85 words per minute. Well, no, that's nothing. We had pianists in the rooms, right? And these people, so we would start to challenge each other. It got to the point where I was typing over 120 words a minute. So without fingernails, but with fingernails, it's kind of slowed down. But I mean, those pianists, you're like going deep. All you see is a blur, right? You're like going, I don't see how your fingers can move that fast.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm like 40 words a minute.
I still type with 2 fingers. So
Me too.
Yeah.
I've never learned any other
bad.
way. I tried QWERTY. They used to teach us QWERTY. Yeah.
Right.
We're terrible.
We called them the hen peckers, the peckers. Yeah.
Finger peckers.
Oh man. And then after that, you know, because back in the day, women had to learn to, you know, if we were going to get a job, it was going to be secretarial. But I wanted to be more than a secretary, so I also took a 10-key adding machine course. So boy, your fingers can fly on those 10 keys too.
Oh yeah.
But now we can do better things. We can do other things.
Now you're free. Now you're liberated.
Yay! So what job did I do? No, okay.
I won't be able to stay on for much longer, so
Okay.
just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
No,
Okay, no
I've
problem.
got my time limited till about 2 o'clock Pacific, so.
Yeah, I can see it's still buffering for the live audience, unfortunately. So we'll keep going on here, but I mean, I think we're kind of almost at the end of this. I want to hear if anybody has any points that you'd like to make before we close this one down. Or everybody should know by now we do have a podcast, and so we do try to do that once every month. On the first of every month, a new podcast will be up. So please make sure that you check that out too. And we try to do a YouTube version here. If I can figure out some of these stream issues, I'll try to do some more live. I think I just got to keep testing out different bit rates and things like that. Maybe look at some other graphic cards. So, anyways, it's all a work in progress.
Well, I think we could do real quick. We could just fly through these. I mean, it wouldn't take long. This motive just takes a second.
I would like to make a quick point about the blood spatter when we get there.
Let's do it.
All right. So we've already gone over bullet count. So bullet trajectory, I mean, kind of, but we can touch more on that real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, Sophia didn't get to finish what she was reading about the bullets.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Actually, I'll post it in the group.
Okay.
The information. That way everybody can see it. And because it's just that pink graph that we have. And it has a listing of all the bullets, the casings, and whose DNA it's connected to.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did cover that somewhat in my book around page 37 of the physical book. Covers all the cartridge casings, and then we cover all of the bullets. We don't talk about 53 and 57, but I think that once people see this graph that you put up, I think that's really going to help give a quick visual. I used to hate those Excel sheets and all that stuff, but in cases like this and things like that, this is what they are meant for.
Yep.
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Hi, it's Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I don't like publicly speaking whatsoever. But I have some knowledge on Dakota County that is, should be connected. During and around this time, I have my own personal story of my encounters with Dakota County and their ability to, at the time they were trying to safeguard my phone from being tracked. And I had knowledge that they had just recently had a very large upgrade to their tech support. So at the time, the director who was helping me safeguard my phone informed me that they had the foremost, just top-notch tech in the country. And I was wondering where they got this funding, what the reason for their funding, and he said it was a case coming out of Apple Valley. So my eyebrows obviously went up. So and that was my own personal story, and a story that came from a family member whose daughter was raided by Dakota County, and they had proof and won their case of planted evidence.
Wow.
Oh, girl, you're giving bombshell testimony.
Oh, I would love to hear more.
Yeah.
Please tell us
I
your
would love
story.
to share more. They're not really my stories, but the ones that I know that stand out are those two for the most part. But there's been multiple times that I've heard about them planting evidence.
Yeah, and so basically they were telling you that they received funding for this person and all of this ability to help you with your phone based on a case out of Apple Valley.
Well, I was curious, and he knew my personal stuff, so I was kind of, just wanting to ask questions to feel comfortable, I guess, at the moment, feeling that vulnerable in that situation with someone trying to block my phone and knowing that he probably could get into my phone if he wanted to. But my phone was tracked, and I was trying to get it off so that I didn't have to go through and buy another phone. And so he safeguarded my phone, and I was asking questions like, well, that's weird. When did you guys get all this funding? And because I was curious too about other community funding things given my situation, and wondering why so much is spread here and not to other places that are much needed. So, yeah. But he did say it came out of the case out of Apple Valley.
Whoa. Well,
have you ever looked at your phone records just to make sure there's nothing weird on them?
Oh, this was back when it was going on.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
this was 2015.
Whoa.
Wow. That's right around the time.
Yeah, there's no such thing as...
It is right at the time, because I knew about the case. I actually had a friend that I wanted to have him actually find out what was going on, because he owned a crime scene cleanup service. And he chickened out himself because he didn't want to go near the case because he knew all about it.
Wow. We see that a lot with this one. Not with this one, just this one, but definitely see that a lot. And, I mean, you can't blame them, you know.
And did they say what type of evidence was planted for this other case?
The other case, it was a gun.
Oh, my goodness.
It was their own gun, but it was planted inside of their home, taken from their box. And then papers were planted in the car as well to link another suspect to another suspect. There were insurance papers or something.
Curious.
Oh, my. That's a
so stuff was moved and planted.
Yeah, which has happened in this case. If and I'm sure you've been following a lot of things we've been doing, Joanna, but we have found that things all over that crime scene were moved, and evidenced by the photos themselves taken at the crime scene.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. So this is just confirming what we had assumed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what type of stuff was moved in that case?
It was a gun with its registration all together. Everything was legit. And her car, she used her car for business, so that's why she was keeping herself safe. And they moved it from the house, or from the car into the house, to try to prove, I don't know, that she had no reason for it other than that they were a threat in some way, shape, or form. Because they literally had nothing on them, so they had to do something. They made a big kerfuffle of, raiding their home, so they couldn't leave it, making it look like they didn't have a reason.
Yeah.
And it was all perfectly
that's what it
legal.
seemed like.
So, and
sorry,
you said
what?
that she had all her... I'm sorry. There must be a lag. I apologize.
There is.
Did you say that she had all her papers for the gun, too, and so everything was legal?
Yes,
but
everything was legal. She had all her paperwork with the gun inside her glove box because she was afraid and trying to protect herself for work.
Mhm.
So they had moved it from her glove box into the house to make it seem like she was a threat.
Jeez.
Oh, wow. But if it's legal, how is she a threat?
And then the insurance papers from the other suspect were taken out of their vehicle and put into her vehicle in the glove box in the garage, which is locked, both. The car was locked, and so was the garage. So technically, even if they had a warrant for the home, that was another part that they were trying to fight because it was a locked garage, because it was used for work. So technically, it's another property that they didn't have whatever to go. They didn't have reason or warrant to go into the garage. They may have in the house, but not in the garage. And then moving things from the garage into the house. Because it was separate.
Okay, so it wasn't attached to the house.
Right.
Oh.
And it was used as for both of their business. So.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Well, I guess now I understand why I have heard nothing from Dakota County at all when I sent them the information on David's case. Wow.
Well, you remember I was telling you about that docuseries on Amazon. I think it's either Showtime or Stars or something like that. But it's called Murder on the Bayou, and everybody involved was corrupt. And it went up to a U.S. Senator for Louisiana.
Mm.
I mean, it just went straight up. From the lowest person on the totem pole, like an actual heroin dealer, basically, all the way up. And it's stunning, because if it happened there, it could happen anywhere.
It's happening here.
Is it happening a lot there, do you think? I mean...
Oh, yeah.
How long do you think it's been going on?
I have my own personal stories I'm not really willing to share, but...
That's okay.
Quite some time.
Okay.
Jesus. So
they're all affiliated. You know, like how it's hard to describe. Well, like in mob movies, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the brotherhood.
It's a brother.
It's the brotherhood. Even if they're not in the force, if they're in something else, it doesn't matter. They're all connected in secrecy by the brotherhood.
So
there are a lot of
which is exactly why David was the threat.
Absolutely. So, do we know directly how they're connected? I mean, at this point, it kind of seems like Freemason might even stand out a little bit more, actually.
It does, even in the small towns. And I will say this, oddly, in small towns that I've been in, and question was brought up against wanting to either visit that temple right on Main Street in every little small town. Oddly enough, the old ones burned down like weeks later, and 3 of the significant ones that I'm thinking of right now, within weeks of asking questions.
Wow.
Burned down.
Curious.
Wow. I mean, this is everything that we suspected, that we just never had confirmation from somebody actually. Well, I mean, we had confirmation from one other person, but, I mean, this is the second person coming forward.
Yeah, it's really sad, because I have friends from high school that became, blue, and they're either changed quite significantly and dropped out people that they couldn't stand to look in their eyes out of their lives, or they dropped out and couldn't stand what they were doing as a job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of that corruption going on there. Mm-hmm. What's the drug situation like?
Well, I can tell you what it was around the time with David.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty bad, but it was mostly done by people that are supposed to be stopping it.
They were running it?
No, that happens often. That definitely happens often.
And then somebody said, up north Minnesota, that they knew that the area up north, was the #1 hub between Mexico and Canada.
Yes.
And officers in Hawaii were even well aware of that factor, of this town that I speak of. It's quite crazy.
What's the town, or did you not want to name it?
It's just up north. I don't want to.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been meaning actually to email you, but I've been really busy.
Okay.
With some information.
Well, that's good to know. This county
just
seems
like
a lot of weird things with this county.
And once again, I mean, you can always private message or anything, but I mean, Red Lake? Does that ring a bell for this at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was thinking.
They take advantage of their territory too. Meaning
I need to look at the financial records.
They basically break treaty.
Yeah, I think that's him. Definitely go into why we need to be checking out those financial records again. I think that's sounding familiar right now.
Okay.
I don't have anything on my old computer, so I'm still in the process of transitioning back. So hopefully
do you just want to send me a PM of what exactly you were remembering so that I know what to look at in the financial records?
Yeah, I'll send that real quick.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking it is if Red Lake is on those financial records, then this could very well be what part of what we're missing. I think, which could explain some things at least.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, John, do you have anything else you want to share, or just any other thoughts that you want, whether other cases, the county, or even just on this particular case here too? Anything else?
Just that I've been saying for years, that I will still stand by it, that it's a lot more esoteric than people are realizing.
Yeah.
I know it was sloppy, but it really wasn't to anybody paying attention that knows how they speak to each other.
Right, with the hands missing, the heads are missing. All
that's directly out of their book, A Ritual.
Yep.
The blood wall? Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that. Could you say that again, Joanna?
Well, what he was saying with the missing hands, their heads being complete. Well, actually, it even refers to it being either completely gone or missing, only parts missing from the head, and even down to children. And it's all in their book.
Trophies.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's the funny thing. If we actually had real detectives, they do keep their trophies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm well aware of that stuff, and we see this with all sorts of different cults. Let's see.
Would it be that David stumbled on something, or David was?
Oh, he was stumbling.
He blatantly disrespected them by telling everybody their end game in his 2-minute trailer. Right at the end of the trailer.
And Joanna, it's interesting because that script isn't even what David was going to be doing.
I know. I think he was trying to actually change it, though, because he was threatened.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's probably what was going on.
That wasn't good enough, though. The people had saw that trailer, and he did an amazing job, and
Yeah, and I believe that there would have been a lot of people who had helped kickstart the funding and everything that would have been upset by his new movie, the new version that he was playing in. So, but have you read the 2013 script yet?
I've read parts of it. I didn't. I tried to skim through it, just trying to find the. I don't know. I try to see the big picture because I see so much. There's so much literature to read, especially with the current climate. That it's so. I didn't even realize that you guys had both scripts, and when I did, I was trying to stay awake. So I've been reading a lot of things. it's just hard to keep up with everything. And this case is very important to me and personal to me because I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to tell the truth through art, and and I was part of a scene that had people trying to find a direction to go to fight the cult, and nobody really knows what they're doing though, because they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And they speak to each other in symbols and signs, and
dates
so
and all sorts of things like this, planetary alignments.
Right, and so every group that tries to get made of trying to do something gets infiltrated by these really sinister people who know exactly how to play these parts. Some actually don't know how to play, and I'm like, how do you not know that that person was? But whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we're coming across that right now, just investigating the case, and we're finding out that certain people have infiltrated other groups, and they're riding the coattails, but now I'm beginning to wonder maybe they're informants and not really riding their coattails.
Yeah, they're just trying to steer it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For instance, like they were in We Are Change, they were in, and now they're in the Proud Boys, and now they're moving to other things. And
I saw the way that Standing Rock was infiltrated. That was some crazy. I couldn't even believe it. Like, it was alarming though, too, as of an awakener, because once they made it about something of love and peace, they had no control over the numbers, and everybody wanted to show up to help. And then they really found that they messed up because their number. They said it was like 10,000. Yeah, right. There was like 40,000 people there. And so they had to give them a breadcrumb. So they did, and they said Obama signed the whatever thing, and then they bought themselves a couple weeks' time. Work never even slowed down. The pipelining did not even get stopped, and they've done both sides every single time. They're always fixing the narrative, and they're agents, and they do get caught. The actual journalists who care. And there have been multiple, but then they're shut up and no one ever hears about it again. But while it was happening, everybody found out that we actually cared to look into anything, that there were your infiltrators.
And now they have journalists, and I put quotation marks around this. They're not even real journalists. They basically write up whatever they're handed.
Right.
And now they're just Yes, like Anderson Cooper or
Snake Boy,
Tom Lydon.
Yeah, he is. I can't hear, but yeah.
Well, I found some interesting things about him, and the fact that his tweets, it's like, holy cow, one of them was a little bit disconcerting. And I know this is off topic, but I'm like, really? And this guy's considered a quote-unquote investigative reporter, where he's talking about where he effed somebody's cat?
What?
He was being snarky, and it was a drunk tweet. He was being a jerk.
God.
But the fact that he said, I'll F your cat? Who does that? And this is
he's not kidding.
Oh my God!
He's not kidding. He's not kidding. That's not a joke. That's not a drunk tweet. He's not kidding. They say things for shock value, thinking that no one will believe him because it's so outlandish. No, this is all in their book.
Yep, then Chrissy Teigen.
And the fact that Tom Lydon has the fact that Tom Lydon has a cat scares me.
Well, we need to look deeper into that tweet, because it very well could be like a dog tweet, and I say that in quotes, too, because dog tweets are not really about actual dogs.
No, they're sending messages in that.
Yeah.
It was the same one that Danny Mason did. Christmas, was it Christmas Eve or Christmas?
Yeah. From the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation quote.
Yes.
Which quote was that?
That was a message.
He was sending a message.
Yep.
None of us got it, but, well, regular people, I should say.
Yeah,
I
like
didn't see his tweet.
People that aren't aware of these dark things that are happening. they speak in another language. They say things, and it's like Black Law's dictionary. It needs its own dictionary because it's a completely other language. It may be English to you, but it's not what it means in court.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. It's legalese. It's its own language. It literally is listed as its own language.
Yeah, I've got that quote up here. Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out of this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're going to press on, and we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's going to find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
Yeah, I know what that means.
You straight up tweeted that?
Yeah, on Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must
Ironic
have
timing.
it because there's a lot of tweets. It shows on his Twitter he's only got 2013.
He probably took it down after we posted,
Oh, yeah.
after somebody in the group posted it, I'm sure. I don't know. But it was like a year or two after, wasn't it? Or was it?
It was a screenshot that I had sent to Catherine.
Okay.
He had taken it down after he found I rated his page.
Do you know what year? Do you remember what year?
What year I looked it up? 2016. That was the last time it was up.
Okay, so but when he posted that, do you know if he posted that on Christmas of 2014, 2015, or 2016?
2014.
2014.
Yeah, it was that Christmas.
Jesus.
And this isn't a quote or...
No,
it's a movie quote.
It's a movie quote, but he
Okay.
posted it on Christmas Eve, right after he had landed in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Oh, wow. It's all coming together.
A little bit.
Do we know if there was anything for January 3rd at all that he had posted? Sorry,
I had a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, they got to my computer somehow.
Yeah,
But
I dealt with
that's
that
very
too.
frustrating.
Have you had it wiped?
I did
or
have a lot
cleaned?
more.
Because I'm finding a lot of connections to January 3rd, and so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I know what you're referring to. Man, that is just creepy. That quote is, Jesus.
Yeah,
And him just
it is.
tweeting that's quite alarming. Which confirms a few of the things. And so I'm curious as to when he left then. Because if you look at some of the likes he's liking, he is liking Manly P. Hall. There's another Freemason right there. And things like this I found on Twitter. So this is curious. He is a curious case. So that just kind of makes me kind of question, was he there then? Could he have been there?
Mm.
Let's see. I'm trying to go back through his tweets right now, so.
Well, we know he's there on the 19th, on January 19th, so I know we're going to cover that in our next podcast.
Yeah, that's...
And at some point he leaves for Texas, right? And then that's when things get
was that
really
around
weird.
January 3rd?
No, that was somebody else.
Oh, no, I know about that.
Okay.
I was just wondering when he left. Exactly. So, I want to see if that kind of lines up. Did he leave before? Did he leave after? Curious. Do you guys know when he left for Texas exactly?
It would have had to have been, if I had to guess, at least late 2015, maybe early 2016, because he's there when they're doing the whole media tour.
Yeah.
You know, talking to everybody how it's so sad, but David's guilty, and just we need to move on. They're going silent. They're going, quiet, and then he sends us that one drunken rant, which is kind of weird too. So I don't know. It's not a very stable person if you just look at what he's posting, what he said to us. If I just look at what he's sent me in messages and what he's posted into the group, and then just goes silent after that, it's just not a very stable person. If you watch the Ben Swan video, you kind of get that feeling too,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can look in his eyes.
I try not
to. Then you see that he's got domestic assault and stuff like that. So it's just...
Yeah, that was weird. That was an odd
And there are two separate times, two separate incidences.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Misdemeanor or felony?
The first one has been taken down. When I was doing my research on all of this, I found it. And then it didn't really state. I'm assuming they were felony charges because he was arrested and charged with the same exact crime as he's being charged with now. And this is a felony, so.
And they were
the ones were wiped off his record?
I'm sorry, you're both talking. I didn't hear.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joanna.
So they were both, the earlier ones were wiped off of his record?
The earliest one, unless you have the case number, and I do, it's on a different device. It's not on this one right now. Otherwise I'd pull it up for you. It's wiped off of the internet. Even this other one, when I tried to go back and just do, just a Google search. Before, when I first found it, I found it quite easily. It popped up right away. And then when I tried to find it, and I do this, I just do this with everybody, even myself. I'm just one of those, I want to see what Google has going. And all of a sudden, I couldn't find it anymore. Even on the one that's current now, I had to actually go to where he was arrested and go to that public record search there. And then you can find it. But the first one, that wasn't even listed.
And this is just within a few days.
Yes.
So there's somebody who's
following
the group and going up and cleaning up the messes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting picture. Goes quite well with his current photo.
Yeah.
Moonlighting. That's the name of the film here.
Moonlighting, exactly.
Copywritten by Ralph Matthews. Photo by Sarah Harmon. Did you find anything on me, Catherine?
I don't know if
I had it all scrubbed.
I have not searched you. No, thanks. I will.
Yeah, I've got it all scrubbed. So.
When I say everybody, I'm talking about everyone associated with this case, from the police chief all the way. And I'm still going. I've done Leiden. I've done the reporters. I've done all of these guys. I've done them all. There's just a couple that I still have to get. But, yeah, some of them have quite interesting backgrounds. I mean, nothing that I would go around posting online, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just know after seeing everybody's background checks in Minnesota, you don't want to be even going 3 miles above the speed limit.
I know.
You're going to get pulled over.
Mm-hmm. I think some of the cops are good, though, right? I think all of us would agree with that, or no? Is there anyone here who thinks, they're all bad? I mean,
no, I know some really good cops, so I know they're not all bad.
I'm just talking about in this case.
In this case.
I think the ones that are left are just trying to hold on to whatever bit of dignity they've got, and it's only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're sick of it.
Yeah.
And right now they feel like they're caught between a rock and a hard place, which they are.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah, it's like what I see as pretty consistent within David's case and the police force is that there are either those who are really new to having to deal with this type of situation, or those who are considered, who have been around the block once or twice. And it seems like those who had been around more really, they kind of overshadowed. So the other ones just kind of did what they were told. And they really didn't have an opinion, couldn't have an opinion, and they just went with the flow. And I don't know if that's normal for everything, but it's pretty evident in this case.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm just looking at what's his face's Twitter right now to go and break it down. I mean, he follows. Mason, well, when I say Mason, DAM follows quite a few different people that I would say are kind of, they do promote the other side, if you know what I'm saying. Like, as in, like, the guys we should
They
not
worship
trust.
the Dark Lord?
Yes, their Lord and Savior.
Yeah, they're not kidding.
No, they really aren't. Luciferians are evil pieces of shit.
And they turn on each other quickly.
Oh, yeah, no, if somebody is, like, totally, like, just like, oh, okay, well, they're not totally supporting this all the way. Like, they've got some other things they're doing over here. I can't really,
Well, even if you look in the timeline of Danny's photos, his photo shoots, after they were murdered, he all of a sudden starts flashing up all the signs and the symbols that he's been initiated.
Yep.
It doesn't happen before. It happens after, which means that was his sacrifice to become.
Yeah. Definitely seems like that is the case, or at least a very good possibility, to say the very least.
And we know that he was then initiated into the Masons in early May.
It was early May in 2015, correct?
I don't think it was just that. I think he was bumped.
Like bumped up or bumped out?
Bumped up.
Oh,
I don't think he's handled anymore. If you're telling me he's getting felony after felony charge, sounds like he's unraveling.
Yeah,
he's probably
that
got
makes
some
sense.
guilt, I'd say. I think he's probably just riddled with guilt, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, I mean, he's got to be.
And I honestly do not think that these are the first ones he's had. He's just had a cleaner who went up behind him and was cleaning stuff up. It's just the first ones we found. Actually, I didn't find it, so I can't claim that.
Yeah. Curious. Very, very curious indeed. I mean, if you look at, like, who he's following on Twitter, you've got, like, all sorts of celebrities, some with some very, very controversial things kind of going on with them. And then, of course, you've got, following, like, the right-wingers, like, for instance, like Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell. I mean, I would argue Thomas Sowell isn't necessarily a right-winger. He seems like he's a little more, like, libertarian, probably, like, towards, like, the center a bit.
Yeah.
But, like, Candace Owens, Gina Carano, Tulsi obviously is a lefty, but she's kind of a strange case for lefties. But I mean, he follows the Manly Hall Society, which Manly Hall he's a Freemason. So, but he's also following like Kevin Sorbo and Don Jr. and things like this. So I mean, I find it strange. Like, you see like people that are kind of like they lean to the right. They follow the right. They don't generally follow like people like Katy Perry, right?
Well, if you remember that movement was all about following neither side. So the fact that they chose a side sends a message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like the Patriots, for instance, where there are people that are just going to be basically following, actual Patriots. They're not caring on which side you're necessarily on. They just want,
Yeah,
you know,
they have
people
freedom to be an individual, who you
Exactly.
are, who God made you as.
Exactly. And then, of course, you know, I mean, like this guy, he's following people that are, you know, we can find direct ties to Luciferianism. We've got Katy Perry. Let me just break down a few more real quick. Where are they? I mean, we saw Matt Drudge kind of got outed not too long ago, being kind of not exactly on our side. Thomas Paine, we know that he was tied to Illuminati.
Genesis.
And then I'm still very leery about Elon Musk and Ben Shapiro, of course, but let's see who else.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is in Genesis.
Oh yeah, well he's a transhumanist.
Yeah.
He's gone steps beyond that.
Well,
we've got,
ultimately, if you have read their literature,
oh yeah,
that was the plan.
They want to take the next step to basically get rid of humans because we're basically inferior in every way to what their ideal quote-unquote person is.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it ironic? They're trying to claim that David domestically abused his wife and child. Isn't that exactly what a narcissist does? As they shift the blame onto the person they want to be the victim, who now can't speak up for themselves, which is usually how it goes in a domestic relationship. And then think of the climate right now, and everybody being taught to think that they are a walking disease. Children, look at the blatant child abuse, and then they say that you're the abuser if you're not doing any of these things we're telling you to do. That is a domestic abuse relationship. It's on a worldwide scale now.
It's a systemic racism. You know, there's the critical race theory, of course. Then, of course, if you're not wearing
they
a
want
mask,
people to feel guilty for every which way that you have a thought, and if it's not their way, they will manipulate in some way. And that is, seriously, that is the definition of a domestic. That's exactly what they're good at, manipulating, gaslighting you, making you think that you're at fault for everything. They're God's grace, and they would never do anything, and you're the crazy one, but you're the one trying to, like, figure out all these things because you're being told you're crazy, and you swear that you're not so that you know all this information. But wait a minute, that can't be right. No, that's an abusive relationship.
Exactly.
And they did the exact same thing when it came to this case.
Oh, yeah. It definitely feels that way, where they're just trying to shift it in a specific way, and if you're not buying it, I mean, you look at the other group, like, look how they react to us, you know. They're not even willing to accept, they're not even willing to even really come to the argument. It's just, you know, you're wrong, and if you believe anything else, I mean, you're an idiot, you're obviously
then I'm going to threaten you, then I'm going to track you, or then I'm going to do this to you, and I'm going to make you move multiple times. Yep. Yeah.
I'm still waiting on it for me. I mean, I have nothing. Bring it on.
Well, don't live here.
Well, I mean, I don't live in Minnesota. I mean, it's too cold for me. I need to have some heat. And, you know, maybe in Oregon. Yeah, I mean,
it makes people do some cold things too, I swear.
Oh, I'm sure.
You could even Minnesota Nice was based on the whole beauty of, you know, I believe, like, the Scandinavian, the Finnish and Swedish and Norwegian, you know, good upbringing of, you know, be kind. It goes a long way. But a lot of people are in and out of here, and it's changed throughout the years. It's no longer Minnesota Nice.
Yeah.
And if someone is being nice to you,
watch your back.
Yeah. That's the funny thing, is that it's the same thing in an abusive relationship. It's called love bombing.
Fair enough.
I don't know if anybody covered this earlier. I was around the kids when they were being very noisy, but it's not just Danny August Mason who has that type of record. There's others in the Gray Strait guys, you know, in that little group that have it. And some even, their records are even worse. And they're all turning around and accusing David of this. And there's absolutely no proof. None.
Why would they? Why do that to David? If it's supposed to be their friend, what could he have done that was so bad that would make them do that? To risk what they're going through now.
Well,
I mean, it's like the more that they talk, the more people raise eyebrows towards them. They have to see that. Maybe a narcissist doesn't see that, so maybe they don't see it. But, geez, I mean, these guys just need to shut up, or just, for once and for all, prove David Crowley guilty, or just admit that you know that he's not. Quit lying to us.
Think about the silence, though.
Mm-hmm.
The silence speaks volumes, and if even down to each side of the families are staying silent, that's for two reasons. They're either keeping their secret for fear, or they're keeping, of affiliation, or they're keeping the secret for fear of what may happen to them because they know they're not affiliated and protected.
Very true.
And they used his 2013 script to do the documentary. That's what they shaped it around. And, you know, they were making money off of this. So I guess that they needed the narrative to prove that to prove to the viewers. But what they didn't understand was that documentary backfired on in a lot of different directions, because it brought so many people to the group saying, hey, we were just lied to. What's the real truth?
Yeah.
Because they're acting like nobody's ever been gaslit before, and they didn't recognize it. And it's really odd that a lot of women popped up after that came out. Like, wow, I've heard this story before in a different scenario.
Correct.
Because it's all the same in the narrative. You're crazy. They're crazy. Stop talking about it. That's what they want, because then no more information keeps slipping out. And this crazy thing about us humans, we have these lovely little epiphanies, and it's quite cool when it comes after prayer a lot.
Right.
So,
Bring up some good points, that's for sure.
I really hope that you'll join us for some other conference calls, Joanna.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to. It's kind of hard to share information when I'm trying not to share too much, because unfortunately, I'm just a little female, and these are all affiliated boys who love to show me how much they're boys, unfortunately.
Well, what you can always do, you can always feel free to shoot any of us a direct message if you want us to go and look in a specific direction. Once again, I'm already looking at a few things where I'm trying to go full circle to find a way where it would have made sense to look into something, so that way it doesn't look like anybody's connected. And that goes for anybody. If you have information about this case, you can always send us a direct message. I mean, I'm not afraid of the threats at all. You know, and I welcome if they want to bring the threats, bring it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not willing to, you know, I'm not trying to badmouth anybody either. You know, but it's just, you know, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm making my videos. That's why I'm sure Greg and everybody else feels the same way. This is why we're doing this. You know, we're exposing this crap. And if people want to go and try and do something about it, you're just further strengthening the cause. You know, I mean, they're idiots for even jumping at anybody like that. But the thing, if they're going to try and silence other people, feel free. Come to us with the knowledge or with what you guys have got, whatever information, and we can look into it. We can always go full circle, so that way you remain anonymous.
Yep.
That would be cool.
And
yep. You can always, you know, we can always do a call like this, but it doesn't have to be live. So if there's anything that you don't want to be said,
absolutely.
In a public forum, we can always take that out. We can pre-record any of this stuff too.
That would be cool.
You can find me on Facebook. It's under Emma Allen. Sorry, not Sophia anymore. But and then you can DM me through Facebook, and then if you give me your email address or whatever, I have a secure email, and you can talk to me that way.
I thought that too. I'm working on another one.
Okay.
Mine was not secure. It was secure for a few months, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, I found that Gmail is not secure at all and could easily be hacked, and that's why I moved over to a secure one. And I feel a lot better now.
Yeah, I had one, and I even had a VPN. They still broke it.
Yep. That's why I still continue to keep mine. If they want in, I don't care what you have. They being, we know the terminology. There's such thing as secure. And that's why I laugh at the VPN. I used to have one too. It's like, nope, I won't even waste my time, because if they can get it if they want it. But, and if you ever want to send
that officer let me know that. That officer made that very clear. It does not matter whatever we do.
Yep. And that's true, and it's true across the board for anything, for any government office. They can get to your emails, to your text, to your phone, to anything. So I just don't even bother with all that. I'm going to be protected stuff. I mean, it keeps you protected from the lay person, but not anyone higher up.
We're going to go back to the days of putting notes on pigeons and sending them across the country.
Oh yeah, let's be honest, they'll intercept that. They have drones now.
You're laughing, Greg, but I'm trying to learn Morse code just because of this.
Sure.
Well, that's the crazy thing that I kind of wanted to say for a little of a message out there to all those who seek the dark. That the reason why this case won't go away, the reason why the case will never go away, is because there's 3 lights that were put out. That was God's light given to us in a pure form. And when you put them out, all of our little lights go flashing like something. It doesn't matter if no one knows about it. It doesn't matter. It goes off. We all know. If we still have our light inside of us that God gave us,
it's like the bioluminescence.
You can't silence or put out that light.
Nope.
Yep. It's like the bioluminescence in the sea. You get those little plankton or even those jellyfish or whatever, and you get one glowing, and they all glow.
And sends a wave. Isn't it funny how they're trying to control us through wave formations lately? Our weather, the frequencies that are not even tested for people's health, and being just launched carte blanche everywhere during lockdowns. Ironic. Because it's God's frequency they want to block us from.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, this case, I've thrown it out there a few times that I think it's a possibility, a very, very strong possibility. I mean, I'm trying to find as much evidence as I can to tie in these guys. Like I said, I'm not looking just specifically for that. I'm looking at all the evidence. What do we have? After we got that 2013 script, boom, we got pretty much, I don't want to say definitive confirmation, but close enough as far as I'm concerned, that you can see so many similarities between that and the actual crime scene itself. So if we're finding those similarities based on that, I mean, that's already saying, okay, something's a little weird here. Why did he have, for instance, what's it called?
Blatant mockery of it.
Yeah. He had all these things right there. Why though? Well, it's because, once again, he was looking into this. I think he was actually, in my opinion, I'm just going to come out with my, not the full theories. Never freaking wait for my video for that one, however long that may be. But still, it's the whole, I think that when it comes down to it, if this really was tied to the Freemasons, which I really firmly believe it was, then this is like this, just like you said earlier, they're basically putting signs out there. But now it's basically trying to decipher the message directly and who they're talking to. Once we can find those two things, you see who the conversation is between, this thing all unravels for them. And that's all it takes. And that's, at that point, we basically just, as just like Sophia was talking about with that one, what they call that, the one in the bayou, the murder in the bayou, whatever that was called.
Murder in the bayou.
Basically, we can just unravel this entire thing. We can find out directly who's tied in and see how far back this goes, see any other cases, which with these guys, there's several hundred cases that are going to be piled up against these guys. So it's easily going to be, okay, well, this unravels here, now it unravels everything else. So, but they're not going to like that, and that's the thing. And as we get closer, we start to see more threats of violence. We start to see more harassment, more, all sorts of different things. And I think that's what's going on here directly. Especially because we've seen one person start to bring up their violent rhetoric again, making threats already. Not going to name names, but it's already occurring. We already know this is happening. So I'm curious as to what happens once we get the case reopened. Because, in my opinion, I think it's going to happen. I really do. I think we need to go and find ourselves. Basically just kind of the route, exactly how we're going to take it. The case will get reopened. It'll be just opened and closed. It'll be instantly. We already know we've got everything here. What we have already is enough right now to prove innocence.
That means we need to go to the highest. You need to go to the highest court so it's seen on a big level. And they're basically all bought and paid for, but at the very least, it shows the entire public.
Well, what I see also is the fact that if this truly is connected to the Freemasons, this is going to go global, because
That's
you're going to start finding, and so this will hit international court and all this, and we know that's where they're going to thrive because, well, America's like the last bastion of freedom, really. So, and even then, it's falling apart slowly at this point. I mean, it's starting to kind of pick up speed, but it's. Once the ball gets rolling, I mean, people are going to wake up to it, and that's directly what it's going to come down to. So if David Crowley, that's what he was trying to do, is wake everybody up, well, his case will certainly wake people up. And I already know it has already to quite a few people, so.
But notice that, too. The so-called truther movement, it should be like a freedom movement, but because truthers now been infiltrated so much.
Yep.
But the whole truther movement, who's talking about it? Who's talking about this case? Who even brought it up? And there were videos. There were many videos right after it happened of everybody raising an eyebrow. Like, come on, people, we all know what happened here. And amazing, they're all gone.
Yep, just like the John Lane case.
It's like only a handful of people, if there are any, and they really don't say much other than a couple minutes. Why are even truthers afraid to touch this case?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think anybody looking at this for any more than probably about 20, 30 minutes, I think it's pretty clear they can see there's something else going on here.
Well, I'm sorry. And here's where I kind of differ. I don't believe that the crime scene itself speaks of a government or a Freemason type of crime scene. What I see, though, I see a lot of rage. I see a lot of anger, vengeance. But the aftermath...
That's part of the ritual.
But
you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, the aftermath, though, is where I see the connection come in, because some of the players had ties, so they did something, and they needed somebody to help them cover it up. Yep. And now it's CYA, and I need you, and they all jump on board going, what you need, we got your back. And that's kind of how I see it. And then from that point forward, they're not about to come back and say, oh, well, oops, our bad, we protected so-and-so because he was one of us. Now it's like digging their heels in and causing more problems.
Yep.
Could
well,
be.
if you're looking at the crime scene, the thing
there's the missing 50,000 that shows that somebody paid for the hit.
Well,
so even if they were trying to show affiliation through their rituals, that the signs that are there, because that is enough evidence right there. You'd have to have a member come forward and be a witness to that, though, and that is the hardest thing to do. They won't stay alive very long.
Well, the thing is, the 50,000 appears right back in, too. That's why I'm curious about I'm still looking at that right now.
That's because Daddy covered up.
That's what I'm thinking. If there is something there, then that would be it. But I got to go and take a look at it again, see exactly who took care of what, who pulled it out, blah, 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 blah.
But see, and that's what I mean. I don't think this had anything to do with David being slaughtered because of anything he revealed. I may be the lone voice on this, but I have heard far worse things out of other people. What David mentioned was just pretty much basic knowledge at that point. However, when it came to other members going to be kicked out, pushed aside, and of no fault of David's. It's just how the business works. And then it became like, excuse me? I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that. You changed the script because you look at the most recent script, and it is nothing like the other ones. And
exactly.
the tone is so different. That 2013 script, I was reading it, and I'm like, I hear 2 or 3 different authors in that.
Yep.
Just because of the cadence, how it's written, the verbiage. It's not the same writer. But I look at the latest one, and I'm reading that, and it is all David. I didn't like it, but it was still all one writer.
Yep.
And so now they're mad because how dare you not only change the script, but now they're accepting your script, and we're all kicked aside. And then that's where my opinion, how I see it, and I could be completely wrong, but then that's where I see, like, now the anger comes in, now the revenge kicks in, and you're not going to do this to me, and now you're not going to have it because now I'm not going to have it. And then after that, then I see a Freemason footprint in the cover-ups.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, I see your point. That's all very true. But when you think about when David met Danny and how they came about to writing the film in the first place, David was on a trail of what we call the lovely rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was military affiliated, I don't know, it's just my ideal that he was assigned a handler and Danny was it. And he was the infiltration that helped him write a script in a certain scenario so that they can do a good job with narrative.
Yeah, you're onto something. So if that's the case, then maybe the actual real scheme of things has nothing at all to do with this gray state, but has everything to do with maybe something he knew or ran into during his time in service, which he never spoke about, but they had to make sure he never would.
Right,
well,
exactly.
Which could potentially be bringing up the Fort Hood connection.
Yeah.
So, and we all know that's got some Freemason connections as well. So
there's a big connection between Texas and Minnesota. Big.
And what a lot of people don't understand is the majority of his unit is either dead or in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And that
exactly.
is not normal.
No.
So my guess is they either couldn't control certain people, and so they either put them someplace where they could control them, or they just killed them.
Yeah.
Which would explain silence on both sides, too, because it's military on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's silence. The family silence is what gets me.
Yeah. How quick they were able to just accept the fact that, oh yeah, this totally happened.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that was another thing when I saw, first when I was saying, I thought maybe you guys just didn't understand the autopsies, and then when I did watch the floppumentary on Netflix, and I'm telling you, Dan Sr.'s face still haunts me to this day. And when I saw that man's face, I'm like, there's no way in hell he believes his son did this. He just doesn't. But yet these words, he's allowing them to come out of his mouth, and I kept going, why? Why are you letting them talk about your son like that?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's affiliated.
That's sad.
He very well could be tied in with it directly, or he very well could also be threatened and told if he doesn't do what they're, basically play ball, that he could be next. That's definitely a possibility.
Well, that is the threat. You don't give up secrecy. And if one of your family members is now gone because of something that was done that was okayed by them, you don't say anything, or you're done.
Yep.
Jeez, that's horrible.
I mean, I definitely think that there's quite a few people in this case that do need to be thoroughly background checked for sure. I think I'm curious because I know that he got a patent. I know that me and Sophia we were looking at this, a while ago where we looked at the patents and everything, and he just all of a sudden came across a basically he's able to patent something and just made millions.
Well, I saw where these guys are trying to file to get legal rights to the patent, but I'm a published author. I know how this crap works, and that's why I'm telling these bastards, excuse my French, they piss me off to no end. They're stealing this man's work, and unless they have a will that specifically states, upon my death, and this goes to my father, his dad has no legal claim to that whatsoever. It remains David's until 70 to 75 years after his death. Then and only then can a family member then claim copyright and continue it on the family line. Otherwise, it becomes public domain. So the fact that these a-holes, and where they even gone to even try to claim and file to get legal claim to copyright, just it's a burr in my saddle, I'm telling you. I just want to just beat the crap out of him. They took his life. Can't they just leave his work alone?
Well, you got to remember, too, Edith, they put that in the, and that's, I'm trying to remember where I heard this from. I do want to say it's in some of the literature these NWO guys follow, but it's, when it comes down to it, there was this line where he said, it was a conversation, I believe it was between John Waynick and Daniel Walker, or was it Walker? No, Nikasi. And they talked about, like, well, what's the worst they could do? Kill me? Basically he was okay with that. He's like, no, is that really what you think? No, they can be far worse than that.
Yeah.
It's true. They can. I mean, the whole point is, like, once you die, what do you have left? What is there left for you? Well, it's your memory. It's people remembering you. And if your name becomes tarnished, basically you now go down as like this evil person. You're now depicted as something less than what you were initially seen as. And I mean, it's the same thing. You look throughout, like all sorts of different lore and all this, through all sorts of different things. It doesn't ever bode well for a person that goes through that process. I mean, like I said, you can go off any kind of, I would argue pretty much any kind of religion. And there's going to be something there when it has to do with, like, what's worse than death, and that's directly that. So, I mean, we could talk about the Bible and be like, well, hell, there's that, but that's definitely fair. But it's
why not? They believe in it. That's why they don't do it themselves. That's why none of their children or their family members ever get affiliated, and if they do, they're always risen above the ranks where they don't have to do anything that would, start divine karma. Mm-hmm. It's always the lower young youth who believe that they're doing the right thing and that are easily manipulated.
Yep.
Well, I think all of them need to go back and read the Bible because, boy, they sure have missed the point. It's those who even incite the actions who are punished. So, but that, again, neither here nor there. But, I have actually, and just for the record, because I want those jerkwads to know, I have actually gone in and filed complaints with the Copyright Commission Board on those who've been trying to steal copyright.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I do that is because one of the books I had actually published in the traditional sense of publishing. There's, where you can do it on your own or traditional publishing. This was traditional. And then my book was on Amazon forever. I mean, forever. Well, there was this little deal going back and forth. Well, then Amazon, when the publisher skipped town with not just my money, but everybody else's money as well. And then Amazon kept selling. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? This send me the money. This is my book, my money, my work.
Right.
And they kept it all. They kept everything. I got nothing for that. 10 years of my blood, sweat, and tears went into that thing. It got published, and I got a total of $5.
Yikes.
Wow.
And it was sold on Amazon for 15 frickin' years. Amazon doesn't keep stuff on their shelf if it doesn't sell. Yeah. And so, I mean, I was just living, and I tried to fight that, and there was nobody to help me. Because the publisher's still alive, and he's skipped town. We can't find him, but the law knows where he is. It's a big, huge, messy deal. But anyway, So when I saw what they were doing to David, I'm like, David's not here to fight for his work. So, and I did. I went and I filed the complaint, and I will continue to file the complaints and state that they are stealing copyright, because that's just, they make me sick. I'm sorry. It's abominable.
No, right. That's his legacy. They were trying to tarnish his legacy. You're trying to protect it.
Yeah.
Somebody should.
That's one reason why he put it on the internet. Was because he knew that they were trying to steal it, and, well,
good.
He was done with the 2013 script anyway. So.
Well, I mean, it's harder for somebody to fight something if you've got, like, definitive proof dates and all this, if you have these types of things. And I think that's why somebody went through his Facebook and started deleting things as well. Is because, once again, that's what it comes down to with copyrights. I know I was under a bit of a concern because somebody I know had copywritten something of one of my other former friends, and he had copywritten a design that, you know, basically it was for him. It wasn't necessarily commissioned, but it was for him, but then copywrote everything about it, you know, backstory and all this kind of stuff. It was crazy. Like, but he'd also done that and admitted, and was even kind of like laughing about it, that he had done this to other people.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, he'd basically like actually copywritten somebody's image. This is something like it was like their image. So like their internet presence, everything, it was all that, and he had copywritten it. It was really disturbing. I mean, he doesn't seem to show any remorse for it still, but you know, it's just disturbing because we're seeing this all the time. That's why I do everything I can. If I make something, I watermark the hell out of it, or I put dates. I've got it thrown up everywhere. You know, so somebody, they're going to try and take something, they're going to try and copyright some stuff. That's what I'm going to do. I think David was very, very well aware that was what's going on. That's why he was trying to push those guys out. I think there was a definite possibility of that, at least. And why he was trying to get the Rise out like as soon as possible, because the Rise itself also it had like so much in there that was going not only for the documentary but also that goes into the Gray State 2014 script. I think that's also why certain characters were written out. I mean, this is all starting to really just like a lot more, you know, kind of come together, especially with this information. So I do appreciate all of the information. Now it's all. There was that, like, basically those little pieces we didn't really necessarily have. We had suspicion, but I mean, looking into some of this now, it's just like, holy crap. Okay, maybe this is connected here because of this. This is connected here to this, and so on. It's just fascinating, but it's disturbing at the same time. So, but good on you for keeping the copyright going. You know, basically saying screw you to the goons. You know.
Yeah, and I will, just because it's not right, you know, and it holds true for anybody, because anyone who's written or created or produced or whatever, you do something like that in a creative sense, and you put a lot of work into that. You know, sleepless nights, endless days, time away from family, just to get it complete, and then to have some loser come by and say, oh, that's mine? It's like, screw you, buddy. You're going to have to fight for that, because I'll fight you to keep it out of your hands.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. But I do have to get going, as it's been half an hour over. So.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, jeepers, we have been yucking.
But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like, I mean, the only thing we didn't really talk about on this list, I think, is Allahu Akbar, but just to say one quick thing on that, it doesn't add up because David's hand is too big, or too small, I mean. So it has to be somebody with a bigger hand, slightly bigger. It doesn't have to be much bigger, but it would have to be somebody with a little bit bigger of a hand.
What are you talking about? The what?
Allahu Akbar on the wall. His hand does not fit.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, the name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the bloody smears. Yeah, his hand doesn't fit it. So I was actually comparing all sorts of different kinds of sizes. That is something, I mean, I'm definitely willing to talk about off air. I will get into that more. But that's because that's going in the video, and I don't want all the details of that coming out
right.
to everybody quite yet. And motive, I think we basically covered that. Is pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, I believe everybody straight across the board on all those different theories that this is why David's guilty. It's all finances. I believe it's basically the same thing they all keep spouting. So, I mean, we've already been able to shut that down. So I think, in blood spatter, that doesn't, there's not enough blood there anyways, but.
Yeah, what blood splatter besides behind the couch?
Minimal. Yeah.
Or behind the recliner, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not enough. I mean, it doesn't line up with the narrative, so.
Right, and there's one thing I want to say real quick about that as well, because when I was doing all the research on the blood spatter, and not only is there not enough blood for the injuries that are sustained, but the blood that is there and was tested belongs to only one person, yet you have 3 victims. And it shows movement. Whoever, Kamel, which we know most of the blood is Kamel's, but we don't know all of it because it wasn't tested. So we can just say whoever's blood was in those particular areas, they were a moving target. As they're being injured, their body's in movement. And yet the police didn't even stop to look at that.
Interesting.
Can I say something?
Yes.
But there's still a lot of missing blood, correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which would explain the ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's missing blood from all of them, not just one.
Yeah. I know.
Well, another thing too is like if we're talking about just the blood in general, then you also got to consider the whole thing that I don't know the other group. This is why I was really hoping they would be here for the discussion, because I've seen their argument. Their argument isn't strong at all, but what they're trying to say is, oh, it's soaked into the carpet, which soaked into the floor. No, that's body decomp fluid, actually.
Well, you can't even see that on the other side of the rug. The BCA has pulled up that rug, rolled it up, and took photographs underneath where the bodies were located, and it is clean. So no, that argument.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Correct.
But yeah, but everything that was right there, it was all body decomp is all it was.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
A little bit on top. Correct.
Exactly. And so that just tells you right there the bodies really hadn't been there for like an extended amount of time. So
10 days.
There, but I mean, I think it's probably around the January 3rd area, but
I'm not a professional medical anything, but I was around while my ex was a crime scene cleanup, and in every case that I saw, not that I wanted to, but I think it was for a reason for this case, to witness what I witnessed, there's a lot more blood in the human body than what was found at that scene. And I've seen cases that they've been sitting there for months decomping, and no way. And there's 3 of them, and they're all missing the same amount.
Yep. So what were you saying, Joanna, about the ritual? What were you saying about that?
Everything. When they do a sacrifice and they do it under ritual, it has to be made and paid in blood.
Oh, okay.
Which means most of their victims are found missing majority of their blood.
Yeah, all of it, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what caught my eye when they are stating that lividity is absent and not seen on all 3 victims, right away that tells me they had to have been bled, especially little Rania. You know, even her body was lacking lividity, and which should not have been the case. If she had simply just been shot in the head by her dad and left there, it would be so obvious it's not funny, but there's nothing. Yeah,
there'd be a pool of blood.
Well,
there'd be a lot of blood there.
Children.
Yeah, it's a favorite target because they're easily manipulated. You can control them, get them pushed right into fear, which produces that's good stuff they like. So
it gets darker, but yeah.
Oh yeah. But I do got to balance that is everything else. I think we've covered pretty much. I mean, motive, we've covered that. Covered.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. If anybody has any final words or anything like that, I think we covered a lot of great ground here. And if anybody has any closing words, Johanna, I definitely want to get you back on at some point here too.
I'm sorry, Joanna. I just wanted to state real quickly here that I saw a comment from Louise Gibson and Joe Pierce, and they both were stating that we did not go live and that we were just, they were being rude again. So my comment to them publicly is we were here. We have been here for 2.5 hours. We extended this olive branch to you. You guys chose not to accept it, which is fine. That's okay. You were entitled. But from this point forward, we're moving on with I am, at least, and I can't speak for everybody, but moving forward with the case, and I just wish you Godspeed, good luck, and we'll see you in the end.
Well, the other thing, I want to go and say one thing about it, too, is I even posted to make sure that it was seen that we are still streaming. I even posted up to my Twitch stream, so there's no excuse. I know they like to go and stalk my Twitch stream. That's okay. That's how I got the nickname Twitch. It's always great. Thank you for that. But it's, that they didn't bother saying anything. Well, it's fine. They want to go and, keep talking. Well, I'm done paying attention to them. She who will not be named in her group of her. Well, I'm not paying attention anymore. I'm done. I was hoping for that debate. I was really hoping for that conversation, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. But I think all of us basically came to the same conclusion. They weren't going to show. It was going to be like that. So instead of going on the 10th, I see no point. I see 0 point to it. They obviously have been paying attention to it. They could have hopped in. Especially if they were paying that close of attention, they easily could have hopped in for a conversation.
Well, Louise and Joe were both saying that they came on to talk to us, but it showed that the live stream had gone actually earlier than what we said, and
that's a lie.
Yeah, we know it's a lie, and I'm like, and I just sat there and I'm like reading their comments, and I'm like going, oh, okay. So, and we've all posted, we were still live, and we tried, and that's all we could do.
Yeah, all they had to do was call in. That's it. If they would have called in, it would show up. So even if they just wanted to join the chat room, that would have been different. But no, this is why people can't take them seriously. There probably are good people out there who really think that David Crowley is guilty. They're not those people. So if you really think David Crowley is guilty, and if you're looking for people that really believe it, honestly, sincerely, I hope you find those people. But we're not here, to prove David Crowley is guilty. I think we all know that nobody can. If the police can't do it,
right.
I don't believe anybody else can.
You cannot prove someone guilty when the person who's trying to state that he's guilty is caught lying multiple times. And shifting their stories. The truth stands on its own because it can.
That's right. Amen. Amen to that. I think that's a great place to pretty much leave it here. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you have not joined the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group, please do so. We're going to do more of these live shows here. I'm going to keep working on doing more live streams. And we always will have a podcast, and we're always working behind the scenes on many different things. And the goal is to get the case reopened. I would like to believe that at some point in time, the Apple Valley Police will take on that charge. If they won't, it's all in God's hands. And I really think God brought us all here, and for whatever reason, if this is what God wants, it will be done. And that's it.
Amen.
So, God bless you all. I really appreciate you all joining, and we'll be back here in a couple weeks, hopefully live.
And thank you, Joanna. You really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Thank you.
I appreciate it as well.
Thank you, and I hope that you
for it to
join
be
us
known
again.
I would like that too. It's good for it to be known because it's too hush-hush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is also good
like
to try.
Absolutely.
This is good to
It's like the big elephant in the room that everybody knows about, but no one wants to talk about because they're all live in fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just going to drive them crazy. You can only do that for so long where, you don't have to do that. You don't have to live in fear. If there's a danger, I totally get it, but there's still a way to try to help us, get the case reopened, to make sure that people know that David Crowley has not been proven guilty and cannot be proven guilty. I think as long as a lot of people know that, I think that's a really good first step. So, but in the end, we all have to make our own choices, and I'm so glad to have all of you here seeking truth.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Thank you.